Have you ever wondered why some prayers seem to change everything while others feel like whispers lost in the wind? Here's the reality: prayer isn't just a ritual, it's a force, a direct line to the Creator of the universe. But most people don't realize its true potential. What if I told you that you're sitting on a well of untapped power, one that can shift your circumstances, transform your relationships, and even rewrite your destiny? Let's be real. Life is full of challenges that often feel insurmountable. You might be battling anxiety, searching for direction, or struggling to hold your family together. And maybe, just maybe, you've questioned whether prayer even works. But what if the issue isn't whether prayer is effective, but how you're using it? There's a secret to unlocking its full potential, and it starts with understanding its purpose. By the end of this video, you'll discover why prayer isn't about asking for small favors but about tapping into a power that can open heaven's gates. You'll learn how to pray boldly, access God's infinite resources, and experience transformation like never before. If you've ever thought, there must be more to prayer than this, you're absolutely right, and today, we're going to uncover it together. Prayer isn't just about murmuring words into the void, hoping for wishes to come true. It's a spiritual recalibration. It's the act of aligning one's heart, mind, and soul with God's grand design. Think of it as adjusting your compass to true north. When you pray, it's less about convincing God to fit into your plans and more about asking, how can I fit into yours? This perspective transforms prayer from a transaction into a divine connection. Consider this. Someone prays daily for financial breakthrough but never reflects on God's higher purpose for their finances. Through prayer, they might discover that their resources were always meant to bless others, not just themselves. It's like polishing a mirror. Prayer removes the smudges of selfish desires, revealing a reflection of God's will. Once that clarity comes, life takes on an entirely new meaning. Prayer also unlocks untapped potential. Imagine your heart as a locked vault. Inside are treasures, strength, wisdom, patience, ready to be accessed, but the key is surrender. Have you ever noticed how challenges seem less intimidating after a heartfelt prayer? That's not coincidence. It's divine empowerment at work, a quiet assurance that you're not walking through life alone. In relationships, prayer serves as a bridge. Whether it's between friends, spouses, or even co-workers, prayer aligns intentions and fosters unity. Picture a couple on the brink of separation. Through prayer, they might rediscover the patience and grace needed to heal wounds. It's not magic, but it is miraculous. Prayer aligns hearts, breaking down walls and building bridges stronger than steel. And yet, prayer's true power lies in its ability to invite God into every moment. It's not reserved for crises or church pews, it belongs in the mundane. Think about it, praying over decisions, no matter how small, reshapes your perspective. Suddenly, even the ordinary becomes extraordinary, setting the stage for what's to come, a journey that takes you beyond mere words and into the gates of heaven itself. Prayer is not just a spiritual act, it's the key that unlocks heaven's infinite storehouse. Think about it, keys grant access, and without them, even the grandest treasures remain out of reach. When you pray, you're not just speaking into thin air, you're activating a divine mechanism that opens heaven's gates and slams hell's gates shut. It's a powerful image, isn't it? A simple act with eternal repercussions. Imagine someone battling overwhelming fear. Through prayer, they find courage that feels otherworldly. That's not by accident, it's by design. Prayer acts as the lockpick to spiritual barriers. It can shatter chains of addiction, break curses over families, and release blessings that have been waiting for you to ask. You see, the key is not just about access, it's about liberation. What's fascinating is how prayer also brings healing. Picture a person praying for a sick loved one, desperate for change. While the outcome may not always look the way they expect, the act of prayer ignites faith. This faith has a ripple effect, bringing comfort, strengthening the soul, and sometimes even witnessing miraculous recovery. Prayer, in this sense, becomes a balm not just for the body but also for the heart. Beyond healing, prayer delivers. It transforms situations, making the impossible possible. Ever heard stories of people finding strength to forgive the unforgivable? That's prayer at work, closing the gates of bitterness and opening doors to freedom. The result isn't just reconciliation but a peace that's indescribable. Prayer is that potent, it reshapes not only the prayer but also the circumstances they face. And yet, the most compelling part of prayer as a key is its inclusivity. Anyone can use it. You don't need a title, position, or a perfect life to turn it in the lock. All it takes is faith and a willingness to surrender. The question is, are you ready to wield this key boldly? Because once you do, the doors of heaven swing open, revealing possibilities that lead to deeper miracles. Prayer is like the invisible thread that weaves strength into the fabric of our lives, families, and even nations. When individuals commit to prayer, they're not just nurturing their own spirit, they're fortifying the world around them. Think about it, a family that prays together isn't just united in ritual, they're forging a bond that withstands trials. It's not just tradition, it's a shield. Without prayer, life feels fragile. A nation that neglects spiritual grounding becomes like a tree with shallow roots, easily swayed by the winds of chaos. Consider historical movements that were fueled by prayer, from civil rights leaders drawing strength for their cause to entire communities turning the tide against adversity. Prayer doesn't just stabilize, it galvanizes. On a personal level, the absence of prayer leaves gaps that no amount of self-help or motivational books can fill. Have you ever met someone who seemed to have everything but lacked peace? That's what happens when prayer is missing. It's like trying to charge your phone without plugging it in, frustrating and futile. Prayer, on the other hand, is the ultimate recharge for the human soul. For families, the impact of prayer is transformative. A parent praying over their children isn't just a comforting image, it's a declaration of hope and protection. It's asking God to guide, guard, and bless their paths. Imagine a child facing peer pressure at school but carrying the quiet strength of a parent's nightly prayers. That's power in action, subtle but unstoppable. And when prayer infiltrates a nation, the results are staggering. It's no coincidence that revivals spark movements of justice and reform. Prayer has the uncanny ability to ripple outward, turning hearts back to God and shifting entire societies. So, while prayer might feel personal, its impact is profoundly collective, setting the stage for divine power to intervene in ways we can only begin to imagine. Prayer is the gateway to divine power, the kind that defies logic and accomplishes the impossible. Have you ever felt trapped in a situation where every door seemed locked? Prayer doesn't just knock on those doors, it breaks them wide open. It's the kind of power that turns desperation into hope, making mountains move and storms cease. And the best part? It's available to anyone who dares to ask. Think about moments of adversity. Maybe someone faced an impossible medical diagnosis or financial ruin. Through prayer, they tapped into a power that didn't just carry them through but completely transformed the outcome. A mother praying for her sick child or a small community praying for rain during a drought, these aren't just acts of faith, they're catalysts for the miraculous. What's remarkable is how prayer takes what seems ordinary and makes it extraordinary. Imagine someone praying over their career, feeling stuck in a dead-end job. Suddenly, new opportunities emerge, connections form, and clarity unfolds. That's divine power at work, not always in dramatic fashion but undeniably effective. It's proof that prayer isn't just about asking for change, it's about inviting God's power into your circumstances. Adversities shrink in the face of prayer. Picture a soldier on a battlefield, praying for courage amidst chaos. Their strength doesn't come from mere willpower, it comes from knowing they're backed by a force far greater than themselves. Prayer doesn't promise an absence of challenges, but it does promise the presence of God, which changes everything. It's the ultimate reinforcement in life's toughest moments. And when hope feels distant, prayer reignites it. It has the power to pull people from the brink, turning despair into deliverance. The impossible becomes possible because divine power isn't limited by human constraints. So, the next time life seems overwhelming, remember this: you're never out of options when you can call on a God who specializes in impossibilities. Prayer isn't meant to be timid, it's a call to approach God with boldness and faith. Too often, people limit their prayers to what feels safe or reasonable, as if they're negotiating with God. But here's the truth: the Creator of the universe isn't intimidated by big requests. In fact, He invites them. Think about it: why ask for crumbs when God has prepared a banquet? Consider someone praying for a new job. Many might ask for any opportunity, when what they really need is a position that aligns with their passions and purpose. Bold prayer says, "God, place me where I can thrive and make an impact." It's not arrogance, it's confidence in a Father who delights in giving good gifts. After all, Scripture reminds us, "You have not because you ask not." Bold prayer also stretches your faith. Imagine a family praying for a home, not just shelter but a place where memories can be made and futures can be built. By asking boldly, they're not just hoping, they're declaring their trust in God's ability to provide. And as faith grows, so does the expectation of what's possible. It's a cycle: bold prayers lead to bold faith, which leads to bold living. This doesn't mean prayer is a magic wand for selfish desires. Bold prayer aligns with God's will and seeks His glory. Picture someone asking for healing, not just for their body but for the strength to encourage others through their journey. Boldness isn't about making demands, it's about trusting God to do what only He can, in ways that go beyond our understanding. So why hesitate? Bold prayers honor a big God. They acknowledge His limitless power and infinite love. The next time you pray, ask yourself, am I praying as if God can barely manage, or am I trusting Him to do abundantly more than I can imagine? The answer could transform not just your prayers but your entire life, leading to a deeper revelation of God's resources. God's resources are infinite, yet so often, people live as though His supply is limited. Imagine a child with access to a wealthy parent but never asking for help because they assume the resources have run dry. That's how many approach prayer, hesitant, unsure, or unaware of the vastness of God's provision. But here's the truth: His storehouse never empties, and He's ready to pour out blessings beyond imagination. Think about the complexity of life's challenges. A single parent juggling work and family might feel overwhelmed, but through prayer, they discover God's provision of strength, opportunities, and even unexpected support. His resources aren't confined to material things, they include wisdom for decisions, peace in chaos, and joy amidst sorrow. Prayer unlocks these treasures, transforming ordinary days into extraordinary testimonies. God's resources are also relational. Ever heard of someone praying for guidance and unexpectedly meeting a mentor who changed their life? That's no coincidence, it's divine orchestration. Prayer invites God to move through people and circumstances in ways that defy logic. When you tap into His resources, you're not just accessing help for the moment, you're stepping into a network of divine connections. But here's the catch: accessing God's resources requires faith. Picture someone standing in front of a flowing river, dying of thirst but afraid to reach in. That's what happens when people pray without believing in God's abundance. Faith is the hand that draws from His infinite supply. When you trust that He's both willing and able to provide, you position yourself to receive blessings beyond measure. The beauty of God's resources is that they're always tailored to your need. He knows when to send provision and when to build perseverance. It's like receiving a custom-made gift, perfectly timed and suited for your journey. So, the next time you find yourself in need, remember this: you're not praying to a God of scarcity but to a Father of limitless abundance, ready to guide you into a life of greater possibilities. Now that you've seen the true power of prayer, the question is, what will you do with it? Will you continue to approach prayer hesitantly, or will you step boldly into the limitless possibilities God has for you? Imagine what could happen if you started praying with purpose, faith, and expectation. What would change in your life, your relationships, and your future? The answer lies in your hands, and on your knees. If you've ever felt stuck, unsure, or overwhelmed, now is the time to take action. Begin by setting aside a few minutes each day to pray, not just for your needs but for alignment with God's will. Write down your prayers and revisit them, watching how God moves over time. And if you're ready to go deeper, there's a resource designed just for you. The Christian Journey, Exploring the Bible in the 27 Steps ebook is packed with practical techniques and insights to transform your prayer life and deepen your faith. You'll find the link pinned in the comments below. Take a moment to check it out. It might just be the guide you need to unlock breakthroughs in your spiritual journey. And if this video inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. There's so much more to explore together, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Thank you for watching, and remember, the power of prayer is in your hands. Use it boldly.